All right, welcome back. Thanks for your patience, everyone. We are just about to get started here. Again, joining me, DOWSEY, who will be handling the play-by-play for us tonight. Slappy Davis, who will be joining me on commentary and analysis. There is a lot to commentate on and a lot to analyze. We are about to start here with, it looks like, Yeesh as the spy on Ballroom against DOWSEY as the sniper. Again, it is first to 9. There is a set venue pool, which are going to be rotating through. I think we're just about ready to go here. Any final thoughts before we start, DOWSEY?
I don't think so. This is going to be one heck of a set. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, very excited. Very nervous. I did predict DOWSEY to win this. I had Yeesh coming a close third. I thought Urand would be the finalist, but of course that big upset by Rio over Urand threw a lot of people's brackets into chaos. If you kind of flip that one outcome, I think a lot of us were actually pretty close here on the finalists, but pretty much every match has been difficult to predict, and this is no exception. I originally had DOWSEY as a slight favorite. When I saw Yeesh win so convincingly over Rio 7-2 last time, I kind of flipped it, but it's just a flip from 49 to 51 to 51 to 49 as far as I'm concerned. Very close, very hard to say. And hard to say because we haven't seen a lot of these players recently. Yeesh took off SCL Season 3. DOWSEY won the Challenger Tournament, but has had a bit of a layoff, certainly. And his last couple matches in the Summer Cup have been particularly close, both 7-5s.
Absolutely. But honestly, just looking at the bracket as it played out, there are so many big names, even just in the round of 16. Like, this tournament was almost impossible to call, but coming out to the finals with the Challenger champion versus the reigning Summer Cup champion, it's hard to come out with a better outcome than this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Yeesh trying to become the first repeat winner, and his title defense begins formally right now. Here we go.
Right now, indeed, we are underway. Yeesh starting things out on the spy side. DOWSEY on the sniper of Ballroom, any 4 of 8.
And this is a live match, in case you didn't know. That's why you did not get your coveted 3-2-1 play in it, unfortunately.
But it's hard to argue with the appeal of a live match. A little bit of a slow start from Yeesh here, not able to get that early flirt like you usually want. Not able to get the early briefcase like you usually want either, but does take a highlight for trying to get there a little bit faster than an AI might. Steps into conversation with the double agent, and Yeesh already noticeably behind here.
Yeah, very interesting. A live match idling in real time right before your eyes. How exciting. But it's very interesting. Yeesh and DOWSEY know each other pretty well, and they both know etiquette very well. I think Yeesh may be going for a low light with that briefcase cancel, but DOWSEY so on it instead highlights him for it, and as you said, very behind now.
Yeah, and he probably thinks he's low lit too.
He might be, yeah. He might be operating under that assumption, because why do that sort of thing if you're not going to try to get missions done afterwards?
Contact comes off. Only a couple of lowlights, which is pretty solid for a contact on this map. Seduction target has come to say hi, so now we're starting to get some mission progress. It's a little bit later than we'd like, but a green test at that distance still gives us... Oh, the bug coming across! I don't think it was seen! That completely changes the face of the game for Yeesh here.
It absolutely does. It flips who was in control, basically, and it looks like DOWSEY was looking at that very full conversation on the far right, especially with Toby nearby offering drinks.
This has got to be the big moment then. If we get this done, it's just flirt, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeesh as a highlight stepping into center statue here. This is going to make him a very, very suspicious party goer. But as you were saying, all he needs is 2 more flirts, and he's got 1:15 to get them.
But it's not a given. Yeah, the flirt timer itself is going to be about 45 seconds, so he's going to have to keep moving around. And when you're playing against someone who's good at catching etiquette breaks, moving around is kind of the last thing you want to do.
Do we know how much DOWSEY pays attention to pathing? Because that's a very circuitous path. And it was a little bit of a risk as we kind of weaseled our way up towards windows and then back into conversation.
Yeah, less than etiquette for sure, but he's definitely capable of shooting you for it.
Second white flirt brings us up to 70%. I don't know if we have the flirt pair, especially since the second target is low lit. But either way, we're going to have to get relatively snuggly on the last one here as the timer slowly starts ticking down. We've got plenty of time for this last flirt, but if he goes to something like the bookcase, we're going to have to chase, and that's exactly what we do. There's the last flirt.
It's a gulp.
Mission win countdown. Does DOWSEY see the gulp? I don't think he does, and Yeesh finds a way to get it done in the first game.
So that's interesting. Two things happen with that drink. First of all, he had to gulp it, but DOWSEY does not notice. He zoomed in on the list just to make sure the list wasn't gone. Did not care about what happened to the drink after that. But the drink allows him to get the flirt done while gulping. So he doesn't have to make that agonizing decision of, do I flirt before or after I take the book out? That is something DOWSEY will get you for if you do it beforehand.
I'm betting that Yeesh right now is surprised that he was high lit at the end of that game, because he seemed like he was pretty aggressive and operated under the assumption that he's low lit. The bug was still pretty clean. He didn't go for an ugly bug just because he thought he was low lit. It was a very great bug. But I'm guessing right now he is kind of a little bit surprised, because I think he was playing as if he was low lit.
Right, and normally when you play as if you're low lit and you're not, you get shot. So the fact that he was in that mission win countdown, he figured this is probably it. And yeah, not an ugly bug, or bugly as I like to call it, pretty clean even with the highlight. I think it was just that really full conversation. So really it was about the timing more than anything.
Yeah, a very good game from both players, but Yeesh able to get it done off the top. DOWSEY's turn. Step into the spy role on Ballroom with Yeesh on the spy. Oh man. Strong start from both players. Let's see if DOWSEY can answer back.
Yeah, and I think he can. DOWSEY obviously a very strong sniper, but relative sniper to spy, stronger on the spy side. I think whoever wins this today is going to have multiple spy wins for sure.
Starting things out at Windows. Once again, not able to get that early flirt you so like to see, as the seduction target is not being particularly cooperative early on. So you've got to find something else to do early, and in this case, for DOWSEY, it's just hanging around, going to paintings, lining up your first flirt.
Yeah, DOWSEY knows Yeesh's sniper style, knows that he can catch him on seemingly innocuous things like quick, early, aggressive flirts that most people will ignore completely. Definitely going to have to space this out and come back with a strong effort here. And it's very important that DOWSEY not fall into a hole early on, given his previous matches.
First contact is done. Lets off 3 lowlights, which is right around the spot you want to be. Green flirt comes out as well to 51%, right as the seduction target steps away. It's a little bit of a delay because we weren't able to get in there that early, but a pretty good start for DOWSEY all in all.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, good start, important in the meta sense too. In some of his other matches, he's had a little bit maybe of competitive nerves, started a little slow and then come back strong as soon as he's settled in. When he's relaxed, he's better. So if he can avoid falling into a hole here, maybe matching that spy win with one of his own, he could be really dangerous as the match goes on.
He's also playing fairly cautiously at the beginning of this one. I think he's just trying to settle into it, because right now he's only done seduction and contact, leaving himself a lot of options. He does not get the contact in time, or sorry, the seduction in time to finish up before Seek leaves. But I don't know if he's actually going to be bold enough to set up for an actual hardtail at this point. Like, he's got to do something. He's doing the easy stuff first, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, leaving his options open, and that probably makes sense against Yeesh, who in the Summer Cup has a very high sniper shot rate. I think it's over 90%, and he's only played 6 ballroom games, but he has fired in all of them. Doesn't mean he wasn't given something to see, but if you have to pick, is he likely to shoot or not, absent any other information, you got to figure Yeesh is someone who normally shoots.
Difficult fingerprint and hits it on the green test. That could be gigantic moving forward. We're getting very low on time, only 1:10 to play. But if we can hit this green flirt, which we cannot, it's 85%. We've got 1 minute on the clock. We have a fingerprint. We've got 2 flirts. We've got 2 inspects. There's the last fingerprint coming off of the drink here. There's a lot we can do to finish this up now. The bug is certainly one of them. That could be big if it got by Yeesh, and it doesn't look like it did.
Goodness.
Yeesh takes the shot and goes up 2 games in the first map.
That is so rough. I don't actually quite like the bug decision, but I don't think it's as bad as it looks. A lot of people are probably thinking, why not just try to finish that flirt and do your inspects? Because you already have the fingerprint done and one of them is difficult. But in this case, you saw that highlight come from Yeesh. Yeesh notices we've got a statue visit, maybe a possible fingerprint on it, into an early talk in a nearby conversation. I think if he had to bounce around to a couple more mission sites there, he probably would have been shot anyway, even without any hardtails.
I definitely agree. He would have definitely gotten shot if he went to another inspect at that point, and so he probably recognized that the bug was the best play. Or sorry, maybe bug, you might be right, wasn't the best play in that position, but not inspecting, I think was the right call.
That's probably true. I think really just not hitting that green flirt changed his plan. Otherwise, he might have been willing to take his chances on that inspect.
On to the gallery next. This is a map that's a lot larger than it looks. Lots of ground to cover. Not so easy to get your flirts off on this one. Able to get a pretty quick opener here on the flirt at the blue painting for 50%. Still in range for a 2 flirt. Good start from Yeesh.
Yeah, although this is one of DOWSEY's preferred maps. I've played him on it. He is tough. He has a very good sense of pacing, a very good sense of the occlusion. But Yeesh just playing with a lot of confidence right now. You can see it.
He's running over a lot of toes, by the way, at the beginning, but I don't think any highlights are going to come off for bounces.
Breaking a partygoer's toe, definitely a hard tell. There's a white test microfilm.
Animation transfer is definitely a bold decision, especially with such an exposed position with not a huge amount of cover. Comes off relatively cleanly, even with the head turn, though. So Yeesh in a reasonably good spot still.
Probably.
First. The other one's going to be easier.
Yeah, absolutely. The green one, because of that, the positioning of the conversation circle, it's not equidistant between the blue and green shelf, so it gives more cover to the green shelf, particularly if you stand at the far right pad. Some people highlight just for standing there at all. I want to say, though, that even though it looks like he got away with that action test transfer, DOWSEY, in a competitive setting, particularly like this, if he did see it, he would wait, and he would try to hide his laser movement if he could. So we don't know for sure. If an aggressive shot comes off, you'll know that he actually caught it.
Banana bread.
Contact comes off at the front conversation as he steps away. Only the people in the front conversation could have done the real contact, though, and that's a very important distinction to make. There was no suspected double agent in the back.
Right. On some of these venues, what you'll do is you'll look for as many low lights as you can get. But on other ones, and Gallery is one of them, sometimes you just want to see who could have done a real banana bread. In this case, that would narrow the party down to maybe 5 or 6 people tops.
He's setting up for a reverse bug right now. Oh, the Ambassador's not leaving quickly enough for him. He's got to do one other mission besides the microfilm, and he seems to be a bit indecisive about which one to do. Also, not only is... oh, wait, here we go. Oh, no, he's intentionally taking a wide path. Wheels is basically discount small men on Gallery, where he's going to be mostly covered by guests. Although, actually, for him right now, this is not the most cover he could get. Oh, here, orange dress.
Now it is.
Irish.
Look at Toby.
Look at Toby!
Toby!
Completely invisible back there!
Yes, and that's why you have to highlight automatically sometimes. Toby provides a huge assist on that microfilm, but he's been to 2 shelves and he gets a highlight for it. I don't know. I actually think he might have trouble finishing here.
It's only 45 seconds as we step into our
swap,
first statue visit. I think he has to swap. There's no inspects on the table. There's no fingerprints on the table. There's nothing else we can do here. There's the swap coming off as the statue comes back down to the neutral position, puts it down. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, steps away. Now he sees it, but not in time. And Yeesh keeps his run going with 3 in a row.
And I am tempted to say that that is now 2 sniper games lost for DOWSEY, specifically because he was watching Purloin closely. I mentioned there that full conversation on Ballroom while the bug happened. Toby was offering drinks in it as well. Perfect Purloin opportunity. In this case, when the swap went off in those final few seconds, up until the very end, he was looking again at the guest list.
That was a very strong play from Yeesh, taking the swap as soon as the statue comes back into the center, not risking a second cycle because that might display the statue once more. Steps away with only 2 seconds left, not really enough time to react. A very nice finish from Yeesh, going up 3-0 as DOWSEY steps back into the spiral, starting things off at the blue bookcase with a fair amount of cover.
Nope.
But not enough as he gets caught out on the animation transfer, and Yeesh is starting to run away with this a little bit.
It looked like it was going to be cover, but the seas parted right before, and Seek's movement was very, very noticeable. Yeesh up 4-0. That's almost half the wins he needs to take the championship here. Remember, it's it's first to 9, rather. So there is a little more time than usual for DOWSEY to get back into this, but he has to stop the bleeding right now.
And Yeesh is one of the few players I would consider to be possibly a behavioralist spy, where he's really the research that he's done on DOWSEY's inclinations as sniper has really paid off. And that was something that he was talking about briefly at PAX when he was playing against Bacon when Bacon didn't know who Yeesh was. He was talking about Bacon's inclinations a lot on a map they had both never played, really. But it's really showing off right now.
Yeah, and he did talk to me a little bit about that as well. He's kind of said, I know DOWSEY does research. And the thing is, research can be very effective, but if your opponent knows you do it, then you know what they know, and down the Yomi rabbit hole you go, and you can specifically play against type if you want. Whether that's what's happening or not, whatever he's doing is working, although we're about to be thrown into the chaos of, I was going to say competitive high-level terrace, but I don't know if there is such a thing yet.
Yeah, Terrace is a very unusual map. We haven't had a whole lot of time to play with it yet, especially on the 3-minute variant with all the new statues and business going on. It's a very unusual situation that we're going to have to see how it works out, but that extra 30 seconds to work with is certainly going to make things easier on the spies.
Yeah, when it was 2:30, you basically, if you want to frame someone, either the AI just have to assist you greatly, which is just random and unlikely, or they have to take a bug path or something, right? But with 3 minutes, a little more viable. And, even though I'd say Yeesh would be pretty good at this sort of game type, and look at that early highlight, I wonder if it's for a deliberately far-away flirt with Queen. I would say if you're Yeesh and you have a 4-0 lead, you actually don't want this kind of map. The Softail variants are swingier. You want boring old courtyard right now, for example, to preserve your lead.
Very nice little bug coming across. A little bit of a twitch in when it came off. Nets Yeesh a highlight, possibly a very big one. Keep in mind, you didn't see any inspects happen at that stat just because this is a 3 of 5 game type. We've got no swap and no inspect on the board as the contact comes off.
Yeah, and I think he's on Yeesh here, and that low flirt's not going to help because I think even 2 talks from this point forward would be enough. He has a real banana bread. So few people here do, and clearly on that bug path. I think DOWSEY's going to get his first win here.
Yeah, 19% is definitely not what you want to see, especially when your opponent is so on that bug path. But we've still got time. Time, unusually, is not the issue right now on this map for Yeesh. It's the fact that he's got so much suspicion for the bug, just going statue to statue now, trying to remove as much suspicion as possible. But at this point, I don't know if it's going to be enough.
I think it's trying too hard. I like the first statue visit, not the second. I really like the path by Ambassador after doing a bug, though. I like that. That's something you can do against a good sniper who's good at catching bugs, because you can be sure they're not going to see it. And why would you walk by the Ambassador when you've already bugged them? Who does that, really?
I think this is the one with extra time, correct?
The extra 30 seconds. Yes.
Right, so he's got, that's the other thing is the active idling is going to be less effective because of the extra time, because you know that there's not the pressure on the spy to absolutely do missions.
Oh, brutal. Look at this. White test, and he's going to have to 2-flirt it to the end. I don't see how he's going to finish here.
He was all in on hitting a green test there. He knew he needed 2 greens in order to finish this up. It would have been 1 green, but stepping out at a distance like that, he was just trying to make it as hard as possible for DOWSEY to find it. Knew he needed 2 green tests to pull it off and didn't quite get it. He's now all in on not finishing missions unless he does some crazy purloin business.
I actually think he made the right decision, though. I think if he goes right next to Small Man and talks relatively quickly, I think DOWSEY would have been on it. I think he's pretty suspicious of that bug. This window flirt could do it.
Yeah, I agree. DOWSEY knew. 70% now. Whatever happens, it's going to be either a timeout or an overtime. I'm pretty sure if DOWSEY has to take a shot right now, it's going to be on Yeesh. But it's not even going to be necessary as the green time ad comes off to hang it at 0, but it doesn't even happen in time. And DOWSEY is on the board.
Need a time ad for the time ad. Doesn't quite time it right. Just misses it. And I think DOWSEY was in control of that game anyway. Very impressed he didn't shoot, though. I wonder if he was really tracking flirts that closely, or maybe was not as sure of the bug as we assumed.
Either way, DOWSEY, now with a point on the board, stepping into the spy side of Terrace. Let's see what he's able to get done.
And DOWSEY does like aggressive bar maneuvers, but that's usually on Modern. Instead, he's going to try to delegate real quick here, or at least keep it in his back pocket. And it's kind of brutal to think that even if DOWSEY manages a spy win here, he'll still be down a set.
Opening the game at the bar is definitely a useful asset to have, especially when you weren't the only one there. Lots of opportunities to frame people, but not going in for the early flirt, interestingly enough. Stepping out to windows and then to statues, really going hard on the frame, it looks like.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe going to try to sneak that delegate purloin in just under the wire. I don't think he's going to make it, but if he does, it'll have been so long and so close that Yeesh might have already stopped looking for it.
It's hard to keep track of that delegate when you're not going right to conversation.
You need to maintain a rolling list in your head that you refresh every so often, because after a minute or two, certain people couldn't have done it, and you don't want to keep those people as possible purloiners all game.
We weren't able to get any seduction done, and now we're real far behind, and so we are committed to something, probably to do with purloin, but nobody's really going to bar, and we don't have swap on, so we can't frame for swap either.
Right, and so maybe the plan is here to try to get a low light through idling, then direct purloin late and assume that will get a shot off.
There's the contact coming off. Purloin timer has run down. The first flirt now is coming off with 45 seconds left to play. An attempted reverse drive-by bug doesn't take. I don't think there's any way we finish missions here.
I don't think so, and I think maybe that was the plan, hope I'm low lit, which he is not, and try to get a bug. But here, I think it's going to be what I just described. It's going to be a direct purloin from someone who basically hasn't done anything, assuming, therefore, it had to be someone next to them. But look at that, between a low light and a high light.
This is the only way to do it. No, he goes for the delegate. 15 seconds to play. Clock is ticking down.
He can still finish.
Flirt. It's gonna have to be overtime if he does. We're under 10 seconds already. He's gonna have to delegate and then immediately hit the green flirt. Doesn't hit the green though. Does hit the delegate, but there's nothing to play for. Not even the bug comes off, and even if it did, it wouldn't have been a finish. It was an effort, but it is going to be Yeesh who holds on to that 4-point lead.
Yeah, that's really big. I actually kind of like that. He just basically decided, I'm going to just go high risk, high reward here, right? I'm going to bet my whole game on this delegate and green test late. I think if he does it a few seconds earlier, maybe he can pick a spot and it works a little better. The 30 seconds gives him some options, but not as many as he needs. But it really almost worked. We were talking for a while there about how it looked like there was almost no way he was going to finish without a bug or something, and he nearly did.
I don't like how long he waited to do it, though.
I agree.
He was not high-lit. He was not under huge suspicion. He was assuming he was a bigger target, which to me indicates that he's a little bit mentally behind where Yeesh is. Because really, he could have rushed the flirt earlier. It wouldn't have cost him anything.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question, right? Yeesh is definitely one of the players you cannot take it for granted against. He will flirt pair sometimes, and I think that's the thing. DOWSEY giving him credit, maybe just slightly too much, though, because you can get an innocuous 25% in early sometimes. Without drawing much suspicion to yourself, even against someone who can flirt pair. And, it won't hurt you that much, and it'll help a lot. Green purloin, by the way, at windows early in this game.
Yeah, big green purloin at the front windows of any 5 of 8 veranda. That's a very bold play, but we've got a little bit of a reject chain going, so it could turn out beautifully. Look at this rush! We've got a green swap coming off.
They're both flashing.
Hardtails at the same time as we step into the first flirt. Finally, the purloin comes off. This is huge for Yeesh.
Fake to add to the confusion. Total chaos here on veranda.
Yeah, look at this. DOWSEY trying to get some lights, trying to figure out what's going on as the green swap comes off. This has been an incredible start from Yeesh. Who
Here's
does
a big moment.
this?
Here's the big moment. If he can narrow it down with the swap, I don't think he's seen it yet because the low light, I think, might have done it. If he can narrow it down from the swap, still hasn't seen it, stopped his rotation just a little too soon. If he can narrow down the party from this, he can still win this. But Yeesh basically extending the time of chaos, which is usually 5 seconds at the beginning of the game, to the first minute and a half.
Here's the thing, it wasn't a low light. He went to the statues, and DOWSEY low-lit him because he couldn't have purloined, and then looked away.
And I don't think he's looked at the statue yet.
It was banana bread, so that it was approaching during the banana bread, and so right now Yeesh is trying to play DOWSEY right now. And this is not only a good play for this game, this is a good match play.
Yes.
This is going to make DOWSEY feel really behind.
And not only that, but I mentioned that it looked like he'd lost those 2 previous games, both because he was looking at Purloin while other things were happening. If I'm right about that, and DOWSEY has noticed, what's Yeesh do? Purloins immediately this time. It's a counterplay to the previous 2 spy wins.
Look at this. Instant green purloin at the top, followed by a green swap, followed by a fake contact to cover it up, and then he just sits tight, gets a timer flirt, slows it right down. He's up to 85% now, plenty of time left on the clock. This is a masterclass from Yeesh so far.
And I'm still not sure if DOWSEY's seen the statue or not. He's definitely rotated enough to see it, but maybe he's talked himself out of it. Sometimes, especially on Veranda with this many statues, 8 statues, sometimes you say, well, maybe that was a 2. Maybe it wasn't a 3. I don't know. There was a lot going on. How sure is he?
I think we got credited for the bug, unfortunately, on that path. It was a bit of a suspicious path because we took the inside lane on the ambassador, but went to the outside lane on the statue. It could just be a statue highlight, but I think we have a bit of suspicion on us now for something we didn't do.
Right. I'm going to guess statue highlight. DOWSEY pretty good at bugs, and he was definitely lining that up because he was worried it might happen. He was definitely suspicious of it, so I think he's going to act with relative confidence that it didn't happen. But I don't know if it's going to matter if Yeesh actually got away with the swap.
Behind the back bug as the ambassador steps in to the bookcase and gives us a complete freebie. Took us a couple of attempts, but we're able to get it done. 1 statue visit to finish the game, or we can contact. We've got everything on the table, anything we want. Go back to the scene of the crime, pick up the last set of inspects, and this game is done for.
It would take a really aggressive, I know I'm behind shot to shoot right here, but he does know he's behind. There's the mission win countdown. My goodness, 3 hardtails done. This is just a body blow.
What a game from Yeesh. That was a thing of beauty.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
the moment was
Queen. Even Queen, after they did the bug, they went to go pet the dog. I loved that little bit of thing for just like the randomness of the AI, where it's just like, don't worry, little doggy, we've got this.
You're in a bulletproof purse. They can't shoot you anyway. You're good.
Also, we rotated, DOWSEY rotated around to check swap on Queen. I think that swap might have never been seen.
I think so. I think he might have talked himself into, it didn't really happen because it was so counterintuitive and again, so many statues. I didn't see what it was before. It swapped into a 2. If it was a 3 before that, it's very easy to say, well, I guess I didn't see that, especially when you're reacting to a banana bread and an early purloin.
DOWSEY's feeling the heat when he's Smallman and does this. Let's count, ladies and gentlemen. That's 4. Well, 3 and 1 aborted, and now he's just tucked into the corner, pretending he doesn't exist.
Yeah, and Yeesh, if he's done any prep at all on DOWSEY, is going to be ready for this. This is such a cheesy move, but I kind of love it. This is, if you're not a sports fan, this is what you call a Hail Mary.
DOWSEY, you're a hero.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Definitely if it works. Definitely if it works. The funny thing is, I think he might have been planning to do this regardless, particularly on a big competitive setting. This is his tech, I think. I don't think he planned to be doing it down 5-1, though.
I don't think you ever planned to be down 5-1. 6-1 at this point, I think.
And he finally emerges. That's a big moment. Yeah. Highlight.
Purloins steps away, gets highlight.
So here's the thing.
I would have stayed tucked in the corner, I think.
Well, so at that point, you're counting on Yeesh to look at the character bar in the bottom of the screen and say, wait a second, I haven't seen this little fellow anywhere. Where is he? Where could he be? Is he just hanging out inside? Especially against someone like DOWSEY, who is, let's just say, known for his shenanigans. He employs them to great effect. Lowlights are coming off for that purloin. I guess DOWSEY's plan here is the purloin showing. wait for a really long time with the time adds, and eventually AIs are all going to go to statues a couple times or get a couple fingerprints. That works pretty well unless the sniper gets 5 or 6 good lowlights, which is what's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Half the party gone. We've got the Purloin 51% on the flirt. Luckily, still over 4 minutes on the clock.
I also love the play as a morale play. If this had worked out a little bit better, it doesn't look like it's going to work, unfortunately, in this game. But this is the kind of thing that can bring him back mentally, where it's a play of comfort, right? Not just play of comfort, but actually kind of a fun and getting ourselves out of a maybe losing mentality.
Absolutely. It's sort of I don't know if either player can really be tilted that much. I tend to think people ascribing losses to tilting is kind of a pat narrative most of the time. Usually it's just a hard game and that's all there is to it. But if there is such a thing, if it is possible, this is the kind of game that could tilt a sniper. And at this point, you're so far behind that's what you need. You can't just start catching the spy. You need to tilt the sniper. You need to win multiple spy games to get back into this.
Speaking of morale, we got a 2 flirt, so that's not nothing.
Yeah, I would have rather had it in some of those other games, though, huh? Especially that first ballroom one.
Look at DOWSEY really just hanging out, taking his time, not really moving at all, not looking for difficult fingerprints or anything like that, really just tucking in and playing this as cool as he possibly can.
The flip side of that high-risk play is how demoralizing would it be if you walk around for 6 minutes on veranda and Yeesh is so confident that he still lets you time out.
There's the contact coming off. Ambassador's in a great spot to be bugged. There it is. And the shot comes off. Yeesh played that game perfectly as the sniper. He kept getting lowlights.
Yep, and DOWSEY did a pretty good job there. You could see what he did, right? He's thinking, a shot still hasn't come off. Something like 3 minutes have gone by and a Purloin is showing. I'm going to make steady progress, and then I'm going to make my move if he hasn't shot yet. And that's exactly what happens there. I think DOWSEY correctly decides this isn't working. Yeesh is, in fact, going to wait me out. So maybe I can still finish missions. Maybe I'm low lit. Who knows? I actually don't have any problem with it. I just think at this point, you need a clean game so badly. And Veranda is a better place to get it than Courtyard, which is where we're headed to next.
I'm not sure I agree with this play of standing still, though. So let's say you see a Purloin go off and you know a bunch of time's been added. What would the spy do? Probably stand still. It's one of the times where moving around would be more AI-like than standing still and just doing nothing in that one corner.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. Hasn't worked for DOWSEY so far as we step into the next one. 7-1 is the current scoreline. A really big hole for DOWSEY as Yeesh has a chance for another beautiful cheeky behind the back bug, but DOWSEY is paying too much attention.
Yeesh has just been, there it is.
Never mind. No, he's not. Yeesh just straight up does it with the laser on him and gets it done. Are you kidding me?
So this is the thing. At higher levels, snipers very smartly, their laser in a different place than their eyes. Sometimes they will rest the laser on a hardtail site, assuming that the spy would therefore never do it, but they don't actually look at it, which actually creates an opportunity to do it anyway. In this case, too, Yeesh's character with that black suit and the low light of the ambassador. Some people highlight it, some people low light it. In this case, low lighting it kind of created a big black blur where the arm went out.
Oh my god, Yeesh is putting on a show right now. The fake contact is 68% on the flirt. The bug early in the game. Yeesh's spy play is on fire right now.
Yeah, and this is what happens when you play with confidence, when your opponent maybe is a little desperate and has to do aggressive things, and when you know you don't actually need spy wins anymore to win.
Finally now stepping into statue. He's got the bug. He's got a pair of flirts. Sure, he's a little bit behind on the clock. We've only got 1:20 as we're stepping into statues here, but this is not going to be difficult for Yeesh to convert. 2 inspects. He needs 1 flirt, 1 contact, and then we're done and dusted. We have over 1 minute to play. This is exactly the position you want to be in. We're not even highlit.
Well, in any other situation, if this were like the first game, for example, I'd actually be pretty convinced that DOWSEY was just waiting for some kind of confirmation like a real banana bread. But given what we've seen so far, I'm not as convinced. I think at this point he really is behind. I think if he didn't shoot right there, that's it. And Yeesh is just ahead of him, and DOWSEY is just, getting desperate.
Highlight for real contact is a great play right there. There were only 2 people who could have actually done it, as the suspected double agent was at statues. But there's no way you shoot for a talk at this point. You can't.
I mean, unless you decide, I know I'm behind, I've been behind every game, he must have done something I didn't see, it has to take a really aggressive shot, you might as well at this point, right? Especially if you have that game sense that says, I'm losing, I missed something again.
Oh, but the nice bounce coming into conversation as well. What do you do at this point? General also just sidled up and said hi. God damn, Yeesh is killing it.
It's brutal. It's a mix too. I mean, Yeesh is definitely timing these hardtails really, really well. But at the same time, DOWSEY is missing things. He's missing things that he should catch. Some of them I want to give Yeesh credit for. Some of them you have to give DOWSEY a little detriment for. I think Yeesh has earned some of these straight up, but DOWSEY has also given away a couple at this point.
That's true. All right, DOWSEY, it's comeback time. You're down 8-1, back against the wall. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, because Courtyard appearing at this stage in the game is an interesting mental reset. Normally, you would hope that the competitors would be a little bit close at this point.
Right.
And it's a good spot to calm down. Whatever happened in the first half of the game, so you can kind of reset. But under a hole like this is going to be difficult. And I agree that the last game was a good bug by Yeesh, but it wasn't an incredible game, and he seemed to get away with it way too clean.
Yeah, and good might even be a little generous. It was fine, right? It was purely a timing bud. If they're looking in that area, you lose. If they're not, maybe you win. And that's kind of what it was. It happened right on a camera rotation. I don't think Yeesh had that kind of control of the party where he knew this was the perfectly timed bug. It was just, hey, maybe this will catch him on a rotation, and you'll take that chance, certainly when you're up this big anyway. So I think that one, this last spy game that Yeesh won, that one was more on DOWSEY. That was a visible bug.
Oh no, just takes the white purloin. Can't even hit the green test in a crucial moment here. Although Yeesh doesn't react to it that well. He gets a big highlight on DOWSEY, 4 lowlights, and that's about it.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be it. I think he understands that he can probably wait this out, and he saw that DOWSEY sort of tried to purloin and induce a shot earlier. I wonder if DOWSEY will counterplay this sort of by trying to finish. It's funny too, this, again, I don't know if I want to call it tilting or not, but DOWSEY talks a lot, and he is correct, about the risk of doing early purloin, where if you white test, you have to sort of just hang the whole game and hope the AI does something. So this is a little out of character for him. Maybe that makes it strategy, or maybe that means he's desperate to try anything.
One interesting thing is, I think Yeesh has correctly guessed.
Oh boy, he sees it. Yep.
He's marked. Okay. Yep. All right. So he's at this point. So what was seen there, I believe, was a wrong time of leaving. But also, he seemed to have guessed who the real double agent was. Mm-hmm. He's high-lit one of them and low-lit the other one. I liked the fact that DOWSEY had happened to leave right before the double agent came in, but then he started pathing towards the real double agent. Yeah, this is actually Yeesh all over DOWSEY's mind right now.
Yeah, dead dress walking here with red dress. It's just about over. This is going to be it. Pretty much as soon as DOWSEY does anything significant, I think.
I think he's going to shoot after the. Oh!
And the end of it. Ooh! The bug though, it's not enough. Yeesh takes the shot, and man, oh man, ladies and gentlemen, Yeesh for the first time is our Summer Cup champion 2 years running.
Yep, just the second player to ever win a second Summer Cup. Kaylee did it in the first and third years of the event, but Yeesh, the first person to do it in back-to-back years, and he does it without playing in SCL Season 4, skipping it for basic training, I believe, but has come back really strong here, and boy, makes me look a little silly. I thought no matter what, this was going to be a close match, but it absolutely wasn't. Yeesh came out of the gate firing, and it really just seems like those early spy wins set the tone. DOWSEY was playing catch-up the whole time, never recovered.
That being said, I really don't think that's the DOWSEY we usually see. He felt a little bit on the back foot and off his usual game. Yeah,
specifically at the end there. I mentioned that he is warned about the dangers of doing an early purloin like that. So it's a little out of character, although again, let's allow for the fact that it's counterplay. But potentially messing up that idle animation. It looked pretty close to me, but Yeesh will catch the slightest frame break there at that point. The fact that that might have helped do him in, very out of character for DOWSEY. So I think by the end of this match, DOWSEY was just sort of doing whatever, and I can appreciate that. I actually think the Smallman thing was his last chance to get back in it. I actually kind of like the move overall, though. I wasn't sure at first, but I think, as we were discussing at the time, you really need to do something dramatic to wrest control of the match. He tried it. Yeesh was patient, and that was it.
It's also something fun, and I think that's actually very underrated to take yourself out of the seriousness of a competitive match. I know you don't want to take a competitive match lightly, but if you start getting into a super pessimistic mood, doing something just sort of fun will break you out of it. Even not trying to drag it down to, oh, you should always have fun during games, but just to get yourself out of that mindset.
Yes. Yeah, the tension, certainly. It can sort of break it. I've been in competitive matches where I've tried something a little silly and I find myself just sort of giggling for a second or two, and it relaxes you. And DOWSEY in particular, we know he's had some nerves during some of these matches. He's usually recovered. I've mentioned that that's what's important, is to not fall into a hole early, because once he gets in a flow and relaxes and start treating it like a casual game, he plays even better. I think he plays better casual rather than more alert, which differs from person to person. So in this case, I think it was good for that reason too, like you mentioned, not just to potentially tilt the sniper, do something dramatic, change the story, but also to relax himself by doing something admittedly a little silly.
And yeah, absolute hats off to Yeesh. She played an incredible match of SpyParty. Especially that veranda game was just an absolute thing of beauty.
I mean, it was well-timed more than anything. I think against a lot of snipers, that still doesn't work. I think not catching that swap, obviously a big deal. That gives him a chance after the purloin to catch the spy anyway. But I think it was the decision to do it. The timing was right. It was a purloin after potentially not noticing things because of purloin early. And it was a rush when his opponent was maybe feeling overwhelmed. And it's not just a DOWSEY loss, not just a big one. It's pretty much the worst match he's had competitively. I mentioned at the top of this broadcast that he's 14-1-1 in competitive play. His loss was way back in week 3 of Challenger, and it was 7-5, so it was close. Of his close wins, in week 5, he won 7-4 against Doom Bunnies, and 7-5 in week 6 against Bitbanding Pig, and that's it. Pretty much until very recently, it was all 7-2s, 7-1s, 7-0s, 6-3s, all throughout SEL and Summer Cup. But we saw a little bit of a crack the last couple weeks. In his last 2 tournament matches, they were both 7-5s against opponents he was probably favored against, although nonetheless, certainly no slouch himself. So we've seen him play closer matches the last couple weeks, whereas Yeesh has gone the other way. He has not really had a difficult match yet in the Summer Cup, and he didn't tonight either.
So hopefully we'll be able to get Yeesh in here pretty soon to have a chat with us, see how the game went.
Yeah. And while we're waiting, is there any game you want to look back on? I could do some quick
Yeesh.
replays. Oh,
well, there's Yeesh.
Hello.
There's the man. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about that set. I feel like DOWSEY was not playing, he's not playing his A game, right? Obviously, I don't think I usually win 9-1 in any other scenario, but I don't know. There's some games I felt like some games I thought I played really well as Spy, but some of them they're just kind of
yeah.
Maybe.
Well, that's what we talked about. No, we were definitely on the fence of, a few of these are just very good, very strong Spy wins, and then there were a couple more where we were a little surprised he didn't catch you. What was your game plan those first 2 Spy games? Because those really seem to set the tone. Were you planning to play against any tendencies there in the first few games?
First tendency definitely is just not get highlight. DOWSEY highlights a lot, and then it's very easy to just blend in. I actually did get highlight as Oprah for a bad briefcase redirect, which is kind of funny that I actually won that game. But my plan was basically just don't get highlight, and then basically throw them off with mission timing. And DOWSEY, from what I've seen, has a tendency to over prep some. So I was making sure I never played Flame Twin once. Making sure he was always in there. On Gallery, I did pick Wheels because I knew I wanted Hard Sell Micro because DOWSEY does mark books. So I wanted the quick blue micro and then late green micro because Wheels is a pretty good character on the Gallery.
Yeah, I don't know if you were aware, but Toby came over right as you did that microfilm too, blocking the only part of you that wasn't already covered.
Oh, yeah, at green. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, thank you, Toby. I'll take that cover.
Yeah, Toby, co-champion of the Summer Cup 2018, of course.
But yeah, and then I just didn't know how is DOWSEY gonna break my sniper. I don't know. he didn't seem to really have too much of a game plan. Like on the first ballroom game, I knew Cowboy had Prince, so that was rough for him. Like if I didn't see that second print, he probably wins because that's a good position.
Well, the
Good
first
position. I
one,
don't highlight him there.
yeah, the first one was difficult. So we were wondering how well that was tracked because obviously difficult to credit for that, difficult to credit for the difficult, frankly, because it's a lot more information. How on that were you?
I knew he had Prince. That was what the highlight was for. And honestly, without that highlight, I probably don't catch bug there because I just see the palm of his hand spread out during the bug on ballroom.
That's
If
the
he's
one we
not
thought he was
highlight,
going to win.
if
Yeah.
he's not highlight, then he definitely wins that game. So that was kind of fortunate on me. It was just like I saw him get the print and then go into conversation, quick talk. I was like, he could have Prince. I think he had could have Prince done. So
Yeah, we're gonna talk to Royal Flush in just a second here, I think. But the one thing I definitely have to ask before we forget is about that veranda game. What was the thinking there? Was that planned in advance? Did you deliberately do a
yes,
purloin early for any reason? It sure
yeah.
seemed like it because purloin seemed to be what distracted him from the previous 2 spy wins.
Yeah, Purloin for sure. I wanted Purloin early, like after the first taker, or like soon after DOWSEY's like, oh, okay, we're good on Purloin. Let me check other stuff. So, and then I timed the swap with that. Just kind of waiting for Purloin to go off so that, hey, you're seeing Purloin, I have to deal with swap. So even if I white tested, maybe I just die there, but I don't even think DOWSEY caught swap that game because at the end of the game, I
Yeah,
was just thinking, oh, he's going to shoot somebody, right?
right.
And then he didn't. So and then he came over to guard my swap at the very end of the game. So I was like,
Right, right, right,
that was
right.
kind of weird. I was like, did he just completely miss it? So I'm not
Yeah.
really entirely sure, but I feel like he just did not see the swap at all. Just too distracted by Purloin.
I agree. That's the conclusion we came to as well. Royal Flush, I have a question for you. Are you considering renaming this the Yeesh Invitational?
The Yeesh Invitational. I think that would send the wrong message. As happy as I am for Yeesh, and congratulations on doing 2 in a row. I think there's still a lot of scope for him to be knocked off his pedestal next year.
Ooh, yeah, throw the gauntlet down. They're going to be gunning for you now, buddy.
That's right. Bring
I've
it on.
I've got a couple of questions that I just noted down here. First of all, Yeesh, congratulations on winning the 2018 SpyParty Summer Cup, making it 2 in a row, which no one has yet done. So, highest congratulations to you on a tournament well played. You've sort of dominated this tournament. You've not really seemed to struggle at any point along the way, and the same thing sort of applied to this match in a way. I mean, this was an absolute onslaught. It was, as I say, we were discussing it, it was expected to be close and it was really very one-sided. Do you, I mean, is that something you sort of capitalized on going 4-0 up? Did you change your play style as a result of that, or did you just have one sort of mindset all the way through?
It changed a little bit just to like make spy wins more valuable because DOWSEY will get on tilt, and you've seen it a few times that I don't know how much he can cope with losing a few games and then trying to come back from that. It's kind of difficult, especially in a long set. So it did play a little bit of a factor. So like if purling and swapping, I had planned to do hard tilts with the trace that game, but maybe not in that fashion. So changed up a little bit, but most of the time I just want to give the sniper a hard time winning. I don't want to make it easy for them, especially when you're down 0-4. If I make it a challenging shot every time, even if it's a tough call, you're still under the pressure all the game. If I just give you a free bug that's super obvious, then I mean, maybe you get back into it, you get some momentum.
Mental
So,
fatigue for sure. Yeah.
I think there's an element, yeah, that's certainly that mental, being mentally draining. It's a mentally draining game anyway, and it must only be. I mean, did you feel any different sort of pressure with there being such a? I mean, it's a $50 difference between winning and losing. Did you feel any extra pressure because of the prize money involved, or because of the live audience?
oh, absolutely. I mean, you play the game live, everyone's watching you. It's for $50, which is like I've played some tournaments for money, but really nothing like this, especially in like a finals. So that was a very unique experience. But it just so usually for me it's like the first game, and then I can just relax after that.
Yeah.
But the first game, definitely, you can feel the heart pounding.
Absolutely. There's a question that I sort of alluded to at the beginning that I'm curious. I mean, how long have you actually been playing SpyParty for? How long have you had the game?
Ooh, that would have been like 2 years ago. 2 years ago in February was when I bought it, so about 2.5 years.
Okay, so 2.5 years, and compared with, as far as I know, I think DOWSEY's only had it 6 months. Do
6
you
months.
have it? I think, yeah, I think he's, because he came in quite early on when it went into onto Steam.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any merit in being a more veteran player in terms of time, not necessarily in terms of hours spent in the game, but do you think that you had an advantage because you've seen the game develop over longer and you maybe had a different stomping ground when it first started, you had fewer maps to choose from? Do you think that has any significant bearing on your, do you think that gives you an advantage or a disadvantage over either an opponent like DOWSEY or someone similar who's new to the game but has a lot of games under their belt already?
Yeah, I think it does give me an advantage, especially since I've been in the community, like following streams. So I just see a lot of tech develop. You just see a lot of strategies appear for both sides. So being around for longer, you see that more. DOWSEY just grinds out games, but I don't know how much time he actually spends like analyzing replays and stuff like that, which I've done quite a lot. Like I would say probably, I don't know. I would almost say I want to say spending more time watching replays or in practice mode than I actually have been in the game. So I don't know if that helps me at all.
Hmm.
I think that if anything that gave me an advantage was that I was on a hiatus. I came back and then my play style like slightly changed. So it was not the same as it was back in season 3. So any analysis you'd have to do on my play style would have to be from Summer Cup. It could not be season 3, or it'd probably be inaccurate if you're trying to guess my tendencies.
Great. Thank you for that, because I think it's quite interesting when you say someone like DOWSEY, for example. I keep using him as an example. I feel slightly bad for talking about him when he's not here, but who's had the game a relatively short amount of time, but has grinded out game after game after game. And I know I've spoken with DOWSEY. I know he does do analyses of replays and such like, and he does look at it from that angle as well. Maybe it's just one of those things that over time you're only ever going to get better, and you can grind to a point. And this is not to take away from DOWSEY's play, because he is a phenomenally good player and he's very astute. And he's typing something at me now. So, yeah, it is interesting seeing someone who is as high a quality player as DOWSEY playing someone who is as high a quality player as yourself, Yeesh. But you've got the longevity in the game, shall we say? One final question that I've got noted down here for you. That's 2 years in a row Summer Cup. Are you A, going to be back next summer to defend it, and B, are you planning on joining SCL Season 5 as a precursor, or do you think the hiatus might be a good thing for your play?
Probably yes to both. I'm a very competitive person by nature, so missing out on Season 4 was kind of a bummer for me. I kind of wanted to be in Silver and play those players, but hopping at Season 5, I'll probably be around doing tournaments. SpyParty is a really fun game, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with it, so I'll definitely be around. There's this, and each player you play is very different. That's like one of the best things about this game, is that I could play DOWSEY, I could play Warning Track, I could play KCM, I could play Crazy Kaylee, and each game is different. So the more people join, the more interesting it is for me.
I think there is a mindset that it's kind of like, I mean, with just some of the language we've been using, talking about tilting, and you play the person, not the game. There's a little bit like poker to a degree, in that you can be dealt a poor hand, which parallels aren't perfect, admittedly, but in poker, obviously, you play the player rather than the cards in your hand. And I think there is an element of SpyParty that's very much like that, in that you can change your play style and you can change what you do on a map depending on the cards that are dealt to you and where you're placed into the map and the circumstances that arise. But also, if you can take advantage of the fact that you know how this player thinks and you know what they do when you do that, then you're really diving into the deeper side of the meta of this game, which is absolutely fascinating. And I think a reason why a game like this can work really well in this tournament setting, and I think will be around for many, many years to come. Yeesh, thank you very much for your time there, and congratulations once again on winning the SpyParty Cup 28. SpyParty Summer Cup 2018. I'm going to hand back to Warning Track, and I think we may be getting a second interview track.
Yeah, just a little bit. And before we do that, though, you mentioned the meta. I would be remiss. I'm sorry I didn't ask it earlier. If I did not ask you about that Smallman game, are you okay with me bringing in DOWSEY first, though? I would love to hear both of you talk about that.
The Smallman game when he was on Veranda.
Yes.
That game was quite hilarious.
Yeah. So what did you see? When did you see it? What were you thinking? There was a lot going on in each of your heads during that Smallman Veranda game, and we must know what it was. Yeah, what'd you see, Yeesh?
Okay, so I saw the time. It was like probably like a minute and a half into the game, and I saw the time was at 4 minutes, and it was going very slowly. I was like, okay. So I low lit all my highlights and then highlight Smallman.
Got it.
Like that's a play that DOWSEY would definitely go for versus me.
Yeah, speaking of DOWSEY, he's here with us now. I'm sorry to throw you into the deep end here, but we are talking about your Smallman Veranda game. If you want to open with that.
Yeah, so I was kind of hoping that I wouldn't be, what was it, 5-1 down at that point when it came to Veranda, so that I could like throw away that game if necessary. Yeesh was the person I actually developed that strategy against when he came back to SpyParty. So I knew it was risky, but I kind of anticipated he would think it was coming. I just didn't think he would think it was coming on Veranda.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
I was
too early into the series.
Library.
Library or something else.
Because it's just it feels like a map that you just don't anticipate it on, so potentially you can get away with it. Hindsight 2020, I should have found the second fastest time adding character and used that character instead of someone. But like, I mean, we got to 4 mission completions before you shot me. So like, and that was the one thing as well, is that in both times that Yeesh has seen this strategy, I've timed out, and the sniper has been forced to shoot. But this game, I actually mission completed, like worked towards a mission complete, which I was hoping would play kind of, the mind game against Yeesh, that he would be thinking someone's timing out, and instead someone's kind of rushing, well, not rushing, but steady pace missions.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was going through your head there after those first couple spy games? They obviously set the tone there with those early spy victories. How close were you to shooting on some of them? Obviously, there's that early highlight in the very first game. We thought you were onto him right away, but ultimately finishes with the mission win. Just looking elsewhere when the bug went off, for example?
Red Dress's bug is broken. I mean, Yeesh will attest to it. It's one of the best walking bugs, if not the best walking bug in the game. I actually think it is. You can stare down a red dress bug and you don't see it. And I was watching for it, so that was just a case of top suspect, didn't see a bug, didn't need to shoot. But I mean, I actually don't feel like this was a series of like major tilt. Like, I feel like my series against JY in the Summer Cup and like my series against Inknun back in week 3 of SCL were like games where I massively tilted. This game, I kind of was just lackadaisical, which probably not the best mindset to be in when it comes to this. I've had a lot of like stressful things going on other than SpyParty, and also I've been the one setting up everything broadcast wise free to the game, and so I kind of feel like I haven't had the chance to focus purely on just this final. Which I know Yeesh is like probably got himself in the mindset that this was happening since before PAX. I've kind of just been, getting addicted to other games instead. And so not being in the right zone probably helps. But I was surprised when this game started that I didn't have the same butterflies that I normally have all like in every other competitive match. I kind of was just at peace with the fact that I knew Yeesh was going to beat me before I started the game. And so that's, I mean, Yeesh is the person who taught me almost everything I know. It was definitely like a student versus master type scenario for me. And whilst I was pretty confident that if I got a couple of spy wins in, that it would be a close set, just letting some of those sniper games go. When I was pretty confident on most games who the spy was, I just didn't shoot for it.
Is there one game in particular that you felt you definitely should have won or missed something?
I should have shot Queen. I was all over Queen. Like, I didn't shoot. I just didn't. It was the swap that threw me. So the Purloin, Queen. The statues, Queen. Everything, Queen, apart from the swap. And so not seeing the swap made me feel like I could get away with not shooting there. But like I was gearing up to shoot Queen. And it was just a couple of etiquette things that I caught on him that I felt like I needed to shoot for, but didn't.
Yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations to you both. Certainly to Yeesh for winning twice in a row, and DOWSEY coming out of nowhere, playing so well competitively. Pretty much the first significant loss you've had. So certainly nothing to be ashamed of there. You've, as I've described you earlier, as a wrecking ball in Challenger. And that's certainly the case. You guys still put on a great show for us, and this was really a pleasure to watch. Do you guys have any final words? Anyone have any final questions?
Oh, I'm
GG's, man.
I'm pretty happy with the result. Like, even though it's like a big result, I came into this feeling like the underdog rather than, an expected winner. I think if anyone was a betting man and was good at betting, they have their money on Yeesh. The guy's a monster.
I got a question then. If you, for both of you, then would you rather have played Urand than each other at any point? Because I know that was one of the posts
easily
that was going to be coming in and was a big favorite.
Yeah, I feel like I've got Urand figured out in my scrims with him, so I think that would potentially help. Whereas Yeesh
would have been playing Yarand in the semis.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. If I played Urand, I have a good record versus Urand, so I would feel relatively confident. But he's a good player. Like, he just knows how to beat you.
So, all right. So then, were you each other's like most feared target in the whole tournament, or was there anybody that you would have even feared more?
Yes. So any challenger player, because I don't know anything about them, but I just ended up playing people I already knew. Besides Rio, like Rio Turnip Boy, that would have been bad because I just don't know what to do. I just haven't played them at all. But I have played like JY, Artery X. I've played them all before. So in DOWSEY, I've played some, but yeah. So I was more scared of challenger players than I was of anybody that was previously in SEL.
I have a question for DOWSEY if I just jump in here.
Sure.
Tough loss, but if you're giving yourself, like X weeks to prep for like a rematch, do you think you could win? And if so, how many weeks would you need?
Oh, I mean, I think a common misconception with my prep game is that I actually have very strict rules about my prep. I only do a day and a half of prep against any opponent.
Oh, that's really smart. Yeah.
So essentially, the day before a match, I will dedicate prep day, start doing my statistical analysis, going through replay sniping, making notes, and then the half day, essentially the day of the match, I then do my finalized prep. And if I do any more than that, I tend to hype myself up. I actually didn't do any prep against Yeesh. Essentially a bit of a Yomi effect attempt where I anticipated he would overthink my prep and would try and counter whatever I was able to take from it. So I did none in just an attempt to hype him up rather than hype myself up. I don't know if that affected this game as much because I knew that regardless of what I prepped, I just had to be on the ball as sniper, and today I wasn't.
Yeah, sometimes it just comes down to execution. You can game plan as much as you want, but who's going to play better on the day? And I think that's definitely true of these higher level matchups where the differences in skill are so marginal sometimes that it's just about who plays their best game on that day. Absolutely.
Definitely.
I think Yeesh and I have probably had that like consistently over the many times we played that, like, until I got to a point, when I got to a point that I could, compete with Yeesh, it just came down to who was performing on the day. And
That's true.
Today was a case of Yeesh and me probably playing at a 70.
I do want to welcome you though to the Summer Cup second place finisher club.
Oh, thank you. No, it's I don't mind being here.
exclusive.
This is a pretty nice spot to be.
It is.
I mean, playing Nemphalus and JY in the group stage and knockout stage definitely kind of set the tone that I could beat higher skilled opponents, or longer established opponents, like people who've been in the game for longer. But yeah, still a lot to work on. I'm just scared that now that competitive is done for the season, that my interest is just going to dip significantly.
That's actually a good point about the silver. Is we talked about the winners of previous cups, but the class of players you're joining is pretty good. It's variable bred. I don't actually remember variable bred that much, but Canadian Bacon, Wodar, Bloom, Pone Noob are previous second cup or second place finishers. So by no means is the second place in Summer Cup something to be ashamed of. It's quite a high finish.
Yeah, congratulations on a really strong tournament, DOWSEY.
Appreciate it. It's for me, it's just a couple months into the game, 5 or 6. So whatever finish was a good finish, really.
Right. Well, I think with that, congratulations to both of you, and a thank you, everybody. I'd like to do some very quick thank yous for making this Summer Cup so memorable. First of all, I'd like to thank all the competitors who have made for such interesting games. I'd like to thank all the audience for tuning in on the cast. I'd like to give an extra special thanks to DOWSEY for all his work on organising the casting, and all the casters as well who've taken part in that. And as well as the hosts, a lot of whom are present company at the moment. It's just made the whole thing so much more exciting and so much more hype. I'd like to thank Chris Hecker, obviously, who's been very supportive of the Summer Cup since its inception, and of course, I'd also like to extend thanks to Crazy Kaylee and BRS Kayla, who, along with myself, have contributed prizes to make up the prize pool. And as I understand, BRS Kayla's just sent me a message, and he is going to be, Yeesh, in contact with you. DOWSEY, you and I will have a conversation at some point as well. And Crazy Kaylee will be, he doesn't know this yet, but he's going to find out. We'll be talking to Ryu and Pofke, who I just forgot came forth. So I think that about sums it up. That's it for another summer. It has been enormous fun. And congratulations to all our winners. Thank you to everybody for tuning in and for taking part. And I think same time next year. Track, do you want to wrap up?
Yeah, again, I have to echo a lot of what you just said. Thank you, first and foremost, to the competitors. We talked at the beginning of this cast about how stressful this game is to play with no stakes at all, let alone those stakes that you all so generously / cruelly provided to make it that much more difficult. And we know that we're dissecting your play in front of people, and it is so hard to do things in the moment. So we want to thank everyone for putting themselves out there. The casting team, DOWSEY in particular, obviously made this an event in a way it wasn't before, and Flush for running it year after year. Again, the longest running competitive event in SpyParty, almost as old as the game itself, as the beta itself. So we really appreciate that. To my fellow casters, of course, Slappy and Taboshi, who were tremendous and excited and insightful as always, and to Wodar for hosting. Thank you, everyone. It has been a tremendous tournament. Thank you so much for watching.